Welcome to the Back to Fitness class. We're going to start with the warm-up. I'm going to explain each movement as we go with that, and then I will talk you through the main part of the class today after that. So to start with, I just want you to get you marching on the spot. Okay? So knees up, swinging your arms, opposite arm to opposite leg. Okay? And we're going to do each of these warm-up movements for about 30 seconds. They should all feel relatively comfortable. This is just about getting your heart rate up, warming up your body, ready to exercise. Okay, and then next we're going to come on to rolling your shoulders. So you can do that whilst you're walking, or you can stop and just stand still. But I just want you rolling your shoulders up and back. Okay. Again, if you struggle to coordinate both at the same time, you can just do this standing still. Okay, and then I need to roll your shoulders the other way, so back and forwards, up and forwards. Good. Okay, and then we're going to switch to side steps in 3, 2, 1. So hands on your hips, coming across and back. Okay, and we're just trying to warm up all the main muscles that we're going to be using in this class. Okay, again, just step as wide as you feel comfortable to. Should feel nice and easy for now. Good. And then next we're going to move on to some arm circles, and we're going to do that now. So bring your feet just wider than shoulder width apart. Start with some small arm circles and gradually make them wider. Okay, so keeping yourself nice and tall, nice and upright, gradually increase the size of that circle. Again, if you struggle with that at all, you can keep those circles smaller, that's fine. Good. And then we're going to go back the other way. So again, starting small, and then gradually increasing the size of that swing. Good. Okay. Alright, okay, and then next, again, keeping your feet just wider than shoulder width apart. You're going to bring your hands up to shoulder level, and we're just going to rotate to the left and to the right. So we're just getting used to twisting so that we're prepared for that when we come to that in the class, in the main exercise section. So just go as far as you feel comfortable to, keeping it nice and relaxed. Again, this should still feel fairly comfortable. Good. Okay, and then finally, we're going to do a tap and reach. So depending on what you feel comfortable to do, you're either going to come down to knees, shins or ankles, and you're just going to bend to touch, and then reach up. Okay, we're just going to do that 10 times. So that's 2, 3, and let's keep that going. Again, keeping your back relatively straight, but not going farther than you feel comfortable to go. So all still just part of the warm-up. Good. Good, and relax. Right, so hopefully now, fairly warmed up, we're going to go into the main exercises of this class now. So for each exercise, it's going to be about between a minute and a minute and a half of exercise. So we'll try and let you know when a minute is up. So actually when you first do this class, you might want to do a little bit less, take a slightly longer recovery. And as you go on with this class and repeat it, you increase up to doing a minute and a half. There'll then be a short break in between where you can rest between the exercises, and I will explain the exercise that's coming next, and some different ways you can do it to make it easier or harder if you need to. Okay, so we're going to start that in just a second. The first movement we're going to do is just standing up and sitting down from a chair. So there's 3 ways that you can do this. Either just sitting down like so, with your arms across your chest. Okay, if you need to make that a little bit easier, you find that a struggle, then you can use your hands to reach back and push up. Or if you want to make it harder, you could grab a weight to hold on to whilst you do that movement. or even just tap and come up without fully sitting down. Okay, so we're going to start with that again, at least a minute, up to a minute and a half. Right, and we're going to start that in 3, 2, 1, off you go. So again, whilst you're doing this, when you're sitting back down, you should stick your bottom back. So sit onto the chair and your feet should stay flat on the floor. And again, if you start to tire during this, you can either stop slightly early, or, as we said, you can use your hands to help control that movement. Okay? Good, let's keep that going. And if you find that you have any issues with tension in your back when you're doing this, then you can just relax your back a little bit more as you come up. So don't worry about keeping a really straight back. Relax as you come up. Okay, that's a minute gone. So you can either stop there, or we've got 30 seconds left. Again, really important as we get to the end, focusing on continuing that good technique. Knees over your toes, up and down, nice and straight. Good. And stop there. That's exercise number 1. What we're going to come on to next, you're going to want to grab the weights if you've got them. Okay. And what we're going to do with these, we're going to bring them up to shoulder height, and we're going to press them overhead one at a time. So really important, we're staying up and tall, shoulders back, keeping the hands at shoulder height, fully straightening up with one arm at a time. If you need to, you can do this sitting down and just perform the same movement, keeping yourself nice and upright. Okay, and we're going to start that in 3, 2, 1, off you go. So nice and controlled, don't worry about rushing it. Your elbows should come a bit out to the side, but not completely in line with your body. Okay. And if you're doing this well, if it's a weight that you can manage, most of your body should stay fairly still. And we shouldn't be arching back too much. You'll just be standing up nice and tall. Again, if you get any discomfort in your lower back when doing this, then you might find doing it seated a little bit easier on that. Okay. Let's keep it going. Okay, good. That's a minute gone. So again, if it's your first time, you can take a breather there. If you're feeling all right, we can keep going. Got about another 20 seconds to go. Try and keep that control as you did at the start. Concentrate on keeping things nice and still, fully extending that arm over your head. Okay, and stop there. Right, you can pop your weights down for a moment to just rest your arms in the break period, but I'll explain the next exercise. We'll be using the weights again. So with this one, really simple, same position, but this time you bring in one hand up to your shoulder at a time. Okay, shoulders back, don't want the shoulders dropping forwards, keep yourself up nice and tall, and we don't want the elbows swinging forwards or back. Keep your elbow by your side as you're lifting up. Okay. We're going to be alternating arms, but if you find this easy with the weights you've got, either try and choose something heavier, or you can do both arms at the same time to get in a little bit more work on both sides. Okay, we're going to start that in 3, 2, 1, off you go. And again, just nice, controlled lift up to your shoulder. Everything else staying still, we shouldn't be leaning to the left or the right. Nice and controlled. Doing this for at least a minute. So we're at a pace ourselves through that. Again, with this exercise, like the last one, you can do it sitting down if you find it difficult to stand up for the whole time. Good. Just coming up to halfway now. And you might find as you tie, your shoulders start wanting to drop forwards. Just make sure you're keeping yourself nice and tall, keeping your chest up and your shoulders back. Okay, that's 1 minute gone. 30 seconds to go if you're going to do a little bit more. Okay, but if not, you can rest there. Good. Again, with all these exercises, it's okay for it to feel challenging, but you should be able to complete the full time that you're doing, maintaining good technique. Okay, and stop there. Right, we're not going to use the weights for the next exercise, so you can pop those down. Okay, but we will be using something for support. So if you want to grab a chair, there's 2 ways that you can do this exercise. You can either do it holding on with both hands in front if you need that extra balance. Otherwise, I would suggest you have it to the side, holding on with one hand for support and the other hand on the other hip. You're going to take your weight onto the leg closest to the chair, lift the other one off the floor, and keeping it straight with the foot pointing forwards, you're going to lift it out to the side and back in. For this exercise, we'll do half time and then switch over, and we'll start in 3, 2, 1, off you go. So again, your body, your torso should remain upright, and your hip shouldn't be coming up too much, so if you put your hand on that hip, it gives you that feedback, so that that's staying still, and the leg doesn't need to come that high. Find if we're in a good position, actually it'll only come up to there as a maximum really, depending on your flexibility levels. Okay, and there might be a tendency for that foot to turn out, but try and keep your leg forward facing. Okay, we're coming up to halfway in a moment, so when I say switch, we're going to turn around and do the other side as well. And okay, so swap over, so bring yourself onto the other side, and now we're doing the other leg. Exactly the same, so take the weight onto that leg first, and then you're bringing that leg out to the side, keeping everything else in line and upright. And you'll probably, if you're doing this correctly, feel it working just on either side of your hips, on both the leg that you're lifting and the leg that you're taking your weight on as well. Nearly there, let's keep it going. Keep it nice and controlled, keep yourself upright. Good, and relax. Fantastic. Okay, so that's that one. We are going to pick up the weights again. Okay, so for this next movement, you're going to take those weights out in front of you. Okay, so we're going to lift the arms up so that your elbows are in line with your shoulders, hands in line with your shoulders as well, and back down. Again, we can do this exercise in sitting, coming up like that, if you feel you need to. Okay. Again, really concentrate on being up nice and tall. And we're going to start that in 3, 2, 1, off you go. So shoulders back, up to level, and back down again. Again, don't rush the movement. Take your time lifting it up. You should be using a weight that you don't need momentum to get it there, and you can do it with control. Good stuff. Keep it going. Alright. Again, like the previous exercise with the weights, you might find as things start to tire, your shoulders are wanting to drop forwards a bit. Keep yourself tall, chest up and shoulders back. Okay, now that's a minute done. So you can stop there if you need to, otherwise you've got another 30 seconds. So maintain that control. Again, if you find you really struggle to the end, next time you need to use a slightly lighter weight, or you can try it in sitting if it's your back that you're feeling doing this. It's good, nearly there. Last few seconds. And rest. Okay. So, next we are going to use one of those weights again. You can put them down for a moment for a breather. What you're going to do is you're going to take a weight in one hand and have that by your side. You're going to take the other hand and put it on your hip, feet just wider than shoulder width apart. Without taking the hips over to the side, you're going to slide that hand with the weight down as far as you feel able to, keeping your body upright in line, and back up again. Much like the exercise before, I'll let you know when we get to halfway, and we'll switch over and do the other side as well. And we're going to start that in 3, 2, 1, off you go. So again, hips stay nice and still, over both your feet, and you're sliding that weight as far down as you feel comfortable to. But it should stay close to that leg. It shouldn't be hanging out to the side, you should be keeping it close to your body. And what we should feel as we're doing this is just a stretch down the opposite side, these muscles working to lower the weight and pull it back up. That hand on the hip just helps you stay aware of what your hips are doing, ensuring that they're staying level and that this movement's coming from your back. If you find any difficulty with this, again, you can either try it with a lighter weight, with no weight at all, or just try a slightly smaller movement. Okay? And we're going to switch over now. So switch on to the other side. Again, hand on that hip, nice and upright, down in the same way. So hips stay nice and still, legs are nice and stable, and just sliding down as far as you feel able to, feeling a stretch on that other side. Again, adjust what you're doing to what you feel comfortable to. You can also do this one in sitting as well. It's a little bit trickier, but you just slide the weight down the side of the chair, keeping that hand on the opposite hip, just as we're doing here. Three, 2, 1, and relax. Okay. You can pop that weight down for a moment. Okay. Now for this, if you have a slightly different weight, you can do that. We can use one of those dumbbells as well, but we're going to do a twisting motion now. So, what you're going to do is your feet shoulder width apart, knees a little bit bent. You're going to take that weight and you're going to twist your shoulders and your chest round, keeping your hips pointing forwards. And we come back the other way as well. We can change the difficulty by moving it further or closer to our body. And we're going to start that in 3, 2, 1, off you go. So coming round, and back, round, and back. And again, much like the last exercise, we want to keep our hips, our legs stable and fairly still, twisting with our upper body. Okay, that's good. Keep it going. And again, if it's getting more difficult, you can bring it closer to you, make it easier. If you're finding it quite easy, then you want to take it further away. Again, you can do this in sitting. You just want your feet nice and wide apart whilst you're doing it, if you do it in sitting on a nice steady chair. Okay, doing well. And we're just coming up to a minute now, so you can stop there if you need to, take a longer recovery, otherwise we've got 30 more seconds. Again, keep it nice and controlled. And you might find you don't get lots of rotation on this, that's okay. But best off keeping your feet nice and stable as you're holding that. Good. And stop there. Okay. So we'll pop that weight down. So for the next exercise, quite similar to the first exercise we did, we're going to do squats. So this is without the chair, although you can have the chair behind you if you need it for security. All you're going to do, feet a bit wider than shoulder width apart, and you might want to turn your feet out just slightly, hands in front. You're just going to squat down and come up. We can change the difficulty by either squatting a little bit shallower or a little bit lower. And if you need it to be more challenging still, and you've done this before, then you can hold the weight whilst you're doing this exercise. We're going to start that in 3, 2, 1, off you go. So nice and controlled. Again, the movement is much like when you were sitting to the chair. So you stick your bottom back, keeping your back relatively straight, but it doesn't need to be tense. And your knees are in line with where your feet are going. So if your feet are a bit more turned out, that's where you want your knees to go. It's quite safe for your knees to come forwards over your toes. Good. And again, you can adjust this if it's starting to tire. You can either stop at the minute mark, or you can just change the depth, going to go a little bit shallower for the second half if you need to. Okay. Alright, we're at the minute mark now. So if you need to stop there, you can. Otherwise, we've got 30 more seconds of work. So if you're aiming for that minute and a half, keep it going strong, just keep it consistent. Really pay attention to keeping that same good technique you started with. Good, and stop there. Fantastic. 8 exercises down, we've got 2 to go. So there's a few options for this exercise. Again, we're going to take one of the weights that we started with. Okay. Either you can put your hand on the back of a chair, opposite leg forwards to the arm the weight's holding, and hand on the back of the chair. And then you're just pulling that weight up into your tummy. Otherwise, if you don't have the chair, you can just put a hand on the knee and do that movement. Okay? Alright? And then again, halfway, I'll let you know and we'll swap over. So we're going to do that in 3, 2, 1, off we go. So you bring it up, and as you do that, you should feel your shoulder blades squeeze back. Sometimes I imagine you're thinking about elbowing the person behind you. That's the kind of movement we're going for. Really try and tuck that elbow back as far as you can, but we're not putting too much pressure on our backs, we're taking some of that weight through the other hand. Good. Your arms should stay relatively close to your body, so the elbow's not flaring out to the side. And it's coming into sort of top half of your stomach. It's not coming up to your chest, somewhere a little lower than that. Okay? And we're going to switch over now. So have a stand up, put the weight in the other hand, swap your legs over, and we're doing the same again. So you're going to make sure we're pulling back, squeezing that shoulder blade back, and that elbow as far back as we can, before bringing it down. You don't want your shoulder to drop forwards at the top of the movement, you want to be pulling it back behind you, and we strengthen these muscles. Doing well, you're nearly there. Good, and rest there. Fantastic. Well done. So, one final movement to go. Now this is kind of a bit of a cool down as well. It's kind of a stretching exercise just to ease things down as we finish. Okay. So we do this exercise in sitting. Okay. For this one, sit back a little bit more in your chair. And again, there's 2 options for this. The easier option is just put your hands on your knees, taking a bit of weight through your arms. You just slowly lean yourself forwards. Just like you're going to pick something up from the floor and bring yourself back up again. A bit more challenging. You slide the hands down towards the feet and back up, so all the weight's going on your back. Still nice and gentle. And again, if that feels really comfortable, we can actually go from one side to the other. So you can slide down to your right and then slide down to your left and twist a bit as well. Okay? And we're going to start that in 3, 2, 1, off you go. So whichever level you're going for. Again, we might feel a bit of stretching in this one, but real important with this one is we're just relaxing as best we can. So there shouldn't be any tension. There might be a bit of discomfort or stretching, but it shouldn't be anything too much. And if it is, then just revert back to one of the slightly easier versions of this exercise I showed you a moment ago. Okay. Again, much like some of the other movements, you can just reduce how much movement you take if it's a challenge. Good. And sometimes if it's helpful, you can exhale on the way down to help your back relax as you go. So all you do is you're coming back up, so you inhale, and then exhale. As you come down, really relax everything, your shoulders and your back into that. Okay. Again, we come to a minute, so if you feel like I've had enough, you can stop there. Otherwise, we'll keep going a little bit more just to stretch things out nice and fully before we finish. And stop there. Okay. That concludes the Back to Fitness class. Thanks for joining us.